Welcome to Partnered Up Business Law, Deals, and Dynamics.
Welcome to Partnered Up Business Law, Deals, and Dynamics with Jeff Fink, partner at Coren Lichtenstein LLP in Massachusetts. Jeff advises and coaches business owners and partners on formation, growth, and dispute resolution for closely held companies. I'm Evan Mack, and today we're talking about fiduciary duty. Jeff, welcome back.
Thanks.
All right, Jeff, can you share a story from your experience where a fiduciary duty or breach of it completely kind of changed the outcome of a business relationship?
I have two stories. They're both about breaches of fiduciary duty. The first one, one of the partners in the business really didn't deal with the finances. And then he asked a question about something and got a funny look from the bookkeeper. So he started looking into things, and he found out that the majority owner of the partnership was using funds from the company to go on family vacations. He bought a boat. He joined a golf club, and to all appearances, he gave his wife the company credit card and let her run with it. And it was bad. And the thing that gave it away was, he said, "Wait, why do we have charges on the credit card from mall stores?" So yeah, that was ugly. And I forgot one of the best parts. The majority owner's 12-year-old daughter was on the books as a full-time employee.
No way.
So
it's crazy.
I have a friend who does corporate fraud investigations, and he said people think that they're creative, but they're not. That when people start to take money, they start by taking just a little bit, and it's okay. And they take a little bit more, and it's okay. And they all put their money into the same things. And so it's pretty easy to find it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a bad story. That, again, the owner ended up losing the business. And then when the company credit card got cut off, his wife left him, and it was ugly. The other one was a weird one. One of my clients was buying a restaurant, and the partners on the other side were arguing, and one of them stabbed the other one in the middle of the kitchen in the restaurant. And so, the whole restaurant had to be shut down for 2 weeks while they decontaminated the kitchen. And he was okay physically, but
that's wild.
It's a wild story. But then he sued the one who stabbed him for breach of fiduciary duty. I mean, there's other things he could have sued him for, but I would say that if you stab your partner, it is going to be a breach of fiduciary duty.
That's a good rule of thumb right there.
Not confident about a lot of things in life, but I am confident about that.
My gosh. So for business owners listening who hear the term all the time but don't really get it, what does fiduciary duty actually mean?
So first, I should say that, I'm from the Deep South originally, even though I live in Boston, and down there they say fiduciary instead of fiduciary. It's the same thing. But there are different pronunciations. But what is it at a really high level? It's a duty to put the other party's interest first, even before your own, and to act really carefully to protect that interest. Most of the time, it happens between business partners, trustees of a trust, and in some financial relationships, but it can pop up other places too. For instance, corporate directors have a fiduciary duty.
Most people don't realize there are really two kinds of fiduciary duties: a duty of care and a duty of loyalty. How do these show up in everyday business decisions, Jeff?
So a duty of care means basically, as the old phrase goes, don't phone it in. If there's a standard you're supposed to live up to, you live up to it. Comes out a lot in suits against public company directors, but it does apply in every fiduciary relationship. I want to put an asterisk on that because in some states, it's just not as strong. And reason being that some of the judges who may not be as educated in this area really think of fiduciary duty as being the second piece, duty of loyalty, which is basically when your self-interest is in play, don't look like you're self-dealing. Put the other person first. So, in our two stories, uh, the guy who gave his wife the company credit card, that's self-dealing. The I'm not quite sure whether stabbing your partner would be duty of care or duty of loyalty, but it's probably both. But we can talk about some examples in a minute. We do see some other kinds of fiduciary duties that the case law talks about, like a duty of disclosure to your partners, duty of confidentiality when it comes to third parties. But those are analytically really subsets of the two main ones.
So speaking of those examples, can you give one of what a breach of them might look like? What's that more about not meeting the standard of care, or one that's about more self-interest?
So not meeting the standard of care. Again, these are harder cases for the litigators to win. But here's an example. So board of directors of a company had a compensation committee. A compensation committee typically decides on at least the CEO compensation, maybe the compensation of all the other senior people. All of these people on the comp committee were independent directors who didn't work for the company, which is as it should be. And in a litigation, they were accused of rubber stamping a special multi-$100,000 bonus payment to a former CEO when he was on his way out the door. So, they helped out their friend. Looks like they just phoned it in. There are standards that they're supposed to follow here, and they didn't do it. Duty of loyalty, in all these stories, I've changed some of the facts to protect client confidentiality and protect the guilty. But two partners open a retail store together. A little while later, one of them opens up a competing store that sells exactly the same thing down the street, with the reason being that a great lease just came up. So there's something called corporate opportunity, which means that if there's an opportunity that the first business has to do something, you need to give it to them rather than taking it on yourself. So that's one way that duty of loyalty comes up. And of course, the kind of self-dealing examples that I had given before, where you're taking money where you shouldn't.
Yeah. In some states, the law gives business owners more freedom to write their own rules about loyalty and care. In others, the duties are more built in. Why is that particular difference important?
So I think what that question is really getting at is the difference between states like Delaware and Massachusetts that are kind
Right.
of on the extremes of the national discourse. Like in a Delaware limited liability company, you can contract out of just about everything, although you still do owe duties under the contract. In Massachusetts LLC, it's less so, and the default is that all the members owe each other a pretty high level of fiduciary duty. So it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. For an operating business, fiduciary duties are pretty important. You don't want your partner opening up the competing store next door. For something like investment deals between sophisticated parties, those parties may want some more individual protections, and like a Delaware LLC will let you get really much more granular about what duties partners owe each other.
When you help clients draft agreements, how do you balance giving them flexibility with making sure they don't accidentally waive protections they might actually need?
Really good question. So goes back to the basic question I always ask: why are you doing this? So, to what end are you in the partnership? So when I'm acting as a lawyer, we have to explore. I'm an advocate, so we have to explore what protections the client's going to need, and they're really kind of the default in the way I think about things is you're flexible unless there's a reason not to be. And a lot of times there are good reasons not to be.
For a listener running a small business or partnership right now, what's one habit that helps them stay on the right side of their fiduciary duties day to day?
Another good question and probably a similar answer, but a little more balanced for a
Right.
business person thinking about their own business relationships. Uh, so you ask, why am I in this partnership? Why are my partners in this partnership? And am I taking this action or not taking an action for my benefit or for the benefit of the business? And just as a simple rule of thumb, a lot of the times, if you have to ask that question and it's not immediately apparent to you, the answer is you're probably doing something that is worth talking to your lawyer about. Um, it's like guilty children. If they're asking you permission to do something that they know they shouldn't be doing, you can always hear that in their voice, and really the same thing applies in a business context.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And thank you all for joining us. That's it for today's episode of Partnered Up, Business Law, Deals, and Dynamics. To learn more about Jeff Fink and his work at Coren Lichtenstein LLP, visit the cl-lawgroup.com. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you do not miss the next episode. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.